Hello everyone, near and far, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you today to the English version of a video about monetary function, world money and the regulation of cryptocurrencies here on my video channel Global Finance, Financial Markets and Banking. This video shows similar slides translated in English and has the same content message, but it is not exactly identical to the German version from yesterday. I will talk about the function of money, about the top reserve currencies used by central banks, and about cryptocurrencies, not only about the high volatility, but about the regulation in several countries too. This video you should see in line with other videos on the playlist number 1, my first research topic, money and banking theory. I talked about banks and I mentioned the discussion if banks serve to money or make financial services with money, or banks are, in my opinion, more part of a money and credit creation system. Fintechs have no banking license. We talk about electronic money, the book money of banks, the central bank and the business banks are electronical. Blockchain currencies called crypto is a little bit misleading, because crypto technologies are much more older than blockchain. I talked about stable coins, the partly integration of blockchain in established financial systems. And so let's go for some minutes only in the history, in the classical monetary theories of the 17th to 19th century. On this slide we see some key thinkers, and I would like to talk about their contributions to the monetary theory. John Locke, Adam Smith, David Ricardo was most famous economists in the 17th and 18th century. John Locke was an early advocate for the labor theory of value. Value arises from human labor, and he emphasized the property rights. Individuals own the fruit of their labor. He viewed money as a social convention that facilitates trade. He believed in stable currency backed by precious metals, gold and silver and other. Adam Smith introduced the idea of the invisible hand guiding markets, so money as a neutral veil over the real economy activity, and he was an advocate for the free markets and minimal government interventions. David Ricardo developed the classical theory of comparative advantages, a social quantity theory of money. Later we see much developments about the quantity theory of money, and he believed inflation was caused by the excessive money issuance. And I think this is not wrong today. So what is about Karl Marx? Karl Marx studied very intensively these national economists, Adam Smith, Ricardo, and other, and he was agree with this triad of money. In Germany we say more emotional Triade, der Dreiklang des Geldes, in English, the trio of money, maybe a medium of exchange. Money must be an equivalent in trade. Money has a function scale of value to be, unit of account, and money should be a store of value, purchasing power for the future. This trio of money was the consensus of all big economists. To go further, I have to mention other function. Here we see a rank or a list of the top reserve currencies today held by central banks. These are statistics from international institutions, from Bank for International Settlement, from the Forex, and from big banks like Deutsche Bank, and maybe the OECD or the IMF has the same figures. But it's clear that at the moment, until today, 54% of foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollar. I mentioned it. And if we look on the share of global trade volume, we see that until 2023, 88% of all global trade was based on US dollar transactions. The euro became a more important rule. About 31% of international transactions and reserves are in euro. And then we have other traditional currencies in Asia, for example, like the Japanese yen or the British pound, 30% until today, until 23, and other more smaller international currencies. Interesting is that the renminbi, the Chinese yuan, here in this statistic shows only 3%. This is less to compare with the Chinese economy and the Chinese role of international trade. But we shouldn't forget that from 2022 until today much changed, and not all transactions are done over international currency markets. Concerning China, they have national clearing treatments and so on. So this will be another topic to talk about as Chinese currency in an international context. In any case, we know that some countries from the so-called Global South try to change this international monetary system with US dollar as a leading or as a top reserve and trade currency. We have a high volatility between US dollar and euro, so the function to be a store for wealth or to secure the money for the future, I don't know, maybe there are other investments necessary. The same we see the exchange rate between euro and British pound, high peaks and lows over the time between 2022 to 2025. And yeah, to look on the Chinese currency, euro to Chinese yuan, we have the same volatile price, the same volatile exchange rate, and we will come back in. Let's summarize as the money functions, the world money function is in discussion, and we have some problems with the monetary system since the Bretton Woods system from 1944 failed in 1973, last but not least, or maybe 1971, if the gold standard was finished from United States and so on. So, but to look on modern monetary theories after John Locke, David Ricardo, Adam Smith and Karl Marx, of course we see much interesting ideas and models to describe our monetary system. John Maynard Keynes developed a theory of deficit spending. Not only this, but maybe the most well-known theory: the state should spend money in a crisis. He can raise debts and money, and should stimulate the economy. And in another economic situation, the state should pay back his debts. You know that the state is able very well to take or to create debts, but to pay back is another question. Post-Keynesianism theories about banks and credit money. I talked about my opinion about our money as a credit money in a two-tier banking system. I have another video about it. And we have neoclassical monetary theories, the so-called monetarism. Maybe you remember on Milton Friedman. He revived and refined the quantity theory of money. He argued that the inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. In the opposite to John Maynard Keynes, and that's why the post-Keynesianism appeared. John Maynard Keynes revolutionized the economies with his book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money in 1936. He argued that money is not neutral, especially in the short run. He advocated for active fiscal and monetary policy to manage demand. He introduced the concept of liquidity preference and the role of interest rates. This is really interesting, and we will come back to the liquidity preference theory of John Maynard Keynes. Later, he became a British financial minister, and he proposed, by the way, the Bretton Woods concept. At first, a world money, but a world money need a world bank with power over all countries, and then Bretton Woods of 1944 established the US dollar-based international currency system, and the US dollar after the Second World War had a gold standard and fixed exchange rates until the beginning of 70s. This is another topic, but since 1973 we have a so-called free floating. We have volatile exchange rates until today. In my opinion, the Eurozone has a big favor to have the euro and have not this problem of volatile exchange rates between national currencies of France or Italy or Germany and other countries. But some countries in Europe have his national currency, like Poland. We will come back to this. So what is the current discussion? After the dominance of the central bank, now the focus is more on fiscal policy, especially in Europe. We have national fiscal policies, and we have an common central bank monetary policy, and this is not in line. We have debt-financed investments for infrastructure, investments for military, defense, and social programs. And the second part, besides the fiscal policy and all that in the world, we have the discussion, or we see the digitalization of money and the digitalization of banks. We can observe cryptocurrencies as an object of speculation, and some investors and scientists see cryptocurrencies as an alternative financial systems. I have another opinion about this, but we should research. So what is about cryptocurrencies? This will be my final point. Only to say something about it. Every day we see news, or we hear news about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and other. And we have hundreds or thousands of blockchain currencies. Not all are successful. Some projects disappeared. But we should talk here a little bit about the regulations in different countries of the world. Cryptocurrencies is not only a fascinating speculative asset class. Bitcoin is at the same time an payment instrument for money laundering, and much criminal activities are based on cryptocurrencies, and I think the states of the world, United States, European Community, European Union, China, and other countries like India or Japan are interested to hold the money system under control, and the state sovereignty of money, the monopole on the issuance of notes by a central bank as a last lender of research is an interesting topic until today, and we have to ask about the consequences for the financial and fiscal policies of national governments and for the Eurozone special. So if we look on the global market, we see some regulations. For example, some countries are comprehensively regulated concerning cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. Comprehensive regulations we have in United States, in Canada, and in Europe. Partly regulated are other countries. Partly regulated maybe Mexico and other. And we have an interesting development concerning China and Asia in general, India. Here, cryptocurrencies are prohibited. That means the mining and the trading of cryptocurrencies is not allowed. Only Hong Kong is a test place. but also with extreme fluctuations. So we probably cannot speak about a store of value. Given the global regulations by the world's major states, it's also not realistic to assume an alternative financial system. Only 2 countries of the world officially declared Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency as a legal tender. These countries are El Salvador in 2021 and the Central African Republic, very pure countries, and many other countries allowed people and banks to use cryptocurrencies, including Germany, Switzerland, Japan, the US, and the most EU nations allow to use cryptocurrencies, but regulate them as assets or alternative payment methods. And in other countries like China, Algeria, Morocco, and Egypt, we see banning, they banned the trading or use of cryptocurrencies. So I have to finish with this slide because here are some technical problems for my last slide. So I will finish here. Thank you very much for your attention. Please subscribe my channel. Give me comments or questions what I can do or research in the future. Activate the bell, and I hope to see you again in next videos, maybe in another playlist, in another research focus like payment technologies of the world, like European banking systems, national fragmentation of the European banking market, or in the future project finance, international project finance by multinational development banks in Europe, in Asia, and other parts of the world, and private-public partnership. That's all for today. I say goodbye.